The sharp crack of boot against metal echoed across the Naval Amphibious Base like a gunshot. Lieutenant Commander Brett Carver's size 11 combat boot connected with the galvanized steel mop bucket, sending 3 gallons of soapy water cascading across the concrete in a spreading wave. The sound cut through the afternoon heat, silencing conversations and turning heads. Jordan Vale was on her knees within 2 seconds, gray coveralls darkening as water soaked through the fabric. She reached for the fallen mop handle with hands that moved too precisely, too controlled for someone caught off guard. Her fingers wrapped around the wooden shaft with knuckles that showed white through tanned skin, positioned in a grip that had nothing to do with cleaning and everything to do with years of muscle memory. She was 34 years old, 5'6", maybe 138 pounds soaking wet, which she currently was. Dark auburn hair pulled back in a simple ponytail revealed a weathered tan and a prominent scar along her left jawline, usually hidden but now exposed as she bent to contain the spreading mess. Hazel eyes stayed fixed on the concrete. She did not look up. Behind Carver, the doorway of the SEAL Team 3 compound framed 30-plus operators spilling out after their afternoon briefing. The lieutenant commander stood 6'1", 205 pounds of gym-sculpted muscle wrapped in desert tan fatigues that looked like they had been pressed that morning, blonde crew cut, artificially white teeth, the kind of tan that came from a salon rather than a desert. "Hey, cleaning lady," Carver said, his voice carrying across the compound with practiced projection. "You missed a spot." Laughter rippled through the gathered SEALs. Phones came up. In 2024, everything was content. Jordan said nothing. She pulled a stack of industrial towels from her cart and began sopping up water with methodical efficiency. Her breathing remained steady. 4 counts in, hold 4, 4 counts out, hold 4. Box breathing, the kind taught to combat divers and special operations forces to control heart rate under stress. Petty Officer First Class Ryan Moss stepped forward from the pack, red hair bright in the California sun, stocky frame radiating the kind of confidence that came from youth and limited combat experience. "Think she even knows what a trident is?" he asked, gesturing to the SEAL insignia on his chest. More laughter. The crowd swelled to 40 personnel now, pulling in instructors from adjacent buildings, support staff, a few family members who had been waiting in the parking area. The base operated on routine, and this interruption of routine drew an audience like blood and water. Master Chief Dale Kirkland exited the compound last, 52 years old, and moving with the economy of motion that came from 3 decades wearing the uniform. 5'9", 175 pounds of functional strength, gray-white crew cut, and steel-gray eyes that had seen things most of these young operators could not imagine. He stopped at the edge of the gathering, watching. Something was wrong. The way the woman held that mop handle, firm grip, aligned elbows, shoulders squared despite being on her knees, that was not the posture of someone who cleaned for a living. That was the posture of someone who held weapons in stress positions for hours at a time. Lieutenant Jay Hutchins joined Carver, 29 years old, with dark hair and features sharp enough to cut. "My grandmother could clean faster than this," he said, deliberately stepping into the water Jordan had just soaked up, tracking muddy boot prints across clean concrete. Jordan's hand tightened on the mop handle for a fraction of a second. The muscles in her forearm stood out in sharp definition before she consciously relaxed. She pulled more towels, began re-cleaning the area Hutchins had soiled, still silent, still controlled. Carver crouched down, bringing himself to her eye level. "What's your security clearance, mop lady? Probably can't even spell classified." The crowd pressed closer, 42 phones recording now, capturing every angle for Instagram, TikTok, whatever social platform would give them likes and validation. Jordan's knuckles went white again on the mop handle. For 3 full seconds, she stayed frozen in that position, head down, shoulders tight. Then her fingers relaxed one by one with visible effort. She finished cleaning, stood slowly, picked up the bucket with both hands. Master Chief Kirkland took a step forward. "Commander, maybe we should—" "Master Chief, I'm just having a conversation with base personnel." Carver cut him off without looking away from Jordan. His tone carried just enough edge to remind Kirkland of rank, even if it ignored time and service. Jordan turned to walk away, pushing her cleaning cart ahead of her. The movement was too smooth, too efficient. She did not shuffle or hesitate. She moved with the controlled economy of someone who had learned to traverse hostile territory without wasting energy or drawing attention. Each step placed with deliberate care, weight distribution perfect, center of gravity low and stable. Kirkland watched her reflection in the window she had cleaned before the incident. Her eyes were completely calm. Not the calm of someone unbothered, but the distant, thousand-yard calm of someone who had learned to disconnect emotion from action. He had seen that look before, in mirrors, and in the faces of operators who had been downrange too long. "Entertainment's over, gents," Carver announced, standing and brushing imaginary dirt from his fatigues. The crowd dispersed slowly, reluctantly, still laughing and replaying footage on their phones. Moss and Hutchins anked Carver as they headed toward the Team 3 Operations Center, their voices carrying back across the compound. "Did you see her face? Absolutely dead inside. Probably illegal, but she doesn't even have real papers. Someone should check her background. She could be anyone." Kirkland remained in place, watching Jordan push her cart around the corner of the building. When she thought she was out of sight, she stopped, placed both hands on the cart handle, let her head drop forward. Her shoulders rose and fell with a single deep breath that looked more like a suppressed shudder. Then she straightened, rolled her shoulders back, and continued walking. Master Chief Dale Kirkland pulled out his phone and opened a secure message app used for internal SEAL team communications. He typed quickly. "Need background check on contract cleaner, Jordan Vale. Something off. Recommend quiet inquiry." He hit send and stared at the empty space where the woman had disappeared. That was not the walk of a janitor. That was the walk of someone who had spent years moving through kill zones. 90 minutes later, Jordan pushed her cleaning cart through the heavy steel door of the base armory. The space smelled of gun oil, solvent, and cordite residue. 15 SEALs occupied the long tables that ran the length of the room, weapons disassembled in precise layouts for routine maintenance. M4A1 carbines, HK416 rifles, Glock 19 sidearms, all laid out in component parts like mechanical autopsies. Lieutenant Commander Carver looked up from the rifle he was cleaning. His smile was immediate and predatory. "Well, well, lost your way to the bathrooms?" The laughter started again, easier this time, lubricated by the earlier incident. Moss and Hutchins sat at the table nearest the door, both grinning. Jordan stopped just inside the threshold, her hands resting on the cart handle in that same controlled grip Kirkland had noticed earlier. "Assigned to clean armory, sir. I can return later if—" No, Carver interrupted, waving a hand magnanimously. "Stay. Educational for you, to see how professionals work." Jordan wheeled her cart to the far corner, as far from the operators as the room allowed. She pulled out cleaning supplies and began wiping down empty wall-mounted weapon racks with methodical attention. Her movements were quiet, almost invisible, the kind of quiet that came from years of practice not being noticed. Moss stood to retrieve a fresh bottle of CLP from the supply cabinet. As he passed Jordan's position, he knocked over an opened container of gun oil. The amber liquid spread across the floor in a slow, viscous wave. "Oops," Moss said, not looking at her. "Better clean that up." Jordan set down her rag, reached for absorbent pads from her cart. As she knelt to contain the spill, Hutchins picked up an M4 carbine from the table behind him. The weapon was clear, chamber empty, magazine removed. He tossed it underhand toward the supply cabinet, a lazy arc that would have landed it safely on the padded equipment mat. Except Jordan was in the way. The rifle tumbled through the air toward her head. Her hand snapped up without her looking, fingers closing around the barrel mid-flight. In the same motion, her thumb found the magazine release, her support hand moved to the charging handle and pulled it back 3 inches in a press check. Her eyes verified the empty chamber, and her trigger finger indexed along the receiver above the trigger guard. 2.3 seconds. Complete weapon safety verification performed on instinct. The armory went silent. Jordan's brain caught up to her body. She froze, still holding the rifle in a low ready position that had nothing to do with civilian life and everything to do with thousands of hours of training. Slowly, carefully, she set the weapon on the nearest table and returned to cleaning the oil spill. Carver laughed, but it sounded forced. "Lucky catch. Hope you didn't break it." The door opened and Master Chief Kirkland entered, carrying a maintenance logbook.
His eyes swept the room, cataloging the tension, the rifle on the table, Jordan on her knees cleaning oil. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing, moving to inspect the weapons log mounted near the door. Hutchins ticked up where Carver left off, needing to fill the uncomfortable silence. Maybe she's a video game expert, Call of Duty Janitor Edition. Scattered laughter, weaker now. Some of the operators had stopped working, watching Jordan with new curiosity. She moved to clean near the main weapons rack, a floor-to-ceiling structure holding 20 rifles in vertical slots. Moss stood from his table, stretched with exaggerated casualness, and walked past her position. His shoulder bumped hers, not hard, but unexpected. Jordan stumbled sideways toward the rack. An HK-416 rifle tilted in its slot, began to fall forward. Her hand shot out, caught the weapon by the pistol grip before it could hit the ground. Her finger stayed straight along the frame, nowhere near the trigger. The muzzle automatically oriented toward the clearing barrel in the corner, a sand-filled tube designed to safely catch negligent discharges. Perfect weapons discipline, automatic, unconscious. How did you? Moss stared at her. Jordan carefully returned the rifle to its slot and stepped back. Her hands were shaking now, a fine tremor she could not quite control. The weapon's safety was off. Condition 1, someone could have been hurt. Carver stood, his expression shifting from amusement to something harder. You telling me how to run my armory? No, sir. Jordan's voice stayed level. Just reflex. Kirkland crossed to the weapons rack and checked the HK-416. The safety was indeed in the fire position, and when he dropped the magazine,
it held a full load of 30 rounds, a live weapon in a supposedly cleared rack. His face went carefully blank as he made the weapon safe and set it aside. Then he looked at Jordan with narrowed eyes that calculated and assessed. What kind of reflex does a janitor have with weapons? Carver stepped closer, invading her space. My father was military, Jordan said quietly. He taught me gun safety. Hutchins grabbed an N16A4 from the wall rack, holding it out toward her. Okay, cleaning lady, since you know so much, what am I holding? Jordan's eyes flicked to the weapon, then away. She did not want to answer, but silence now would be more suspicious than knowledge. M16A4 service rifle, 5.56 NATO, direct impingement system, usually 20-round magazine, but 30-round is more common in field operations. Front sight post, carry handle with integrated rear sight. Effective range 550 meters for point targets, 800 for area targets. The silence that followed was different than before, heavier. Carver's voice went cold. Anyone could read that on Wikipedia. Jordan returned to her cleaning supplies, but her hands were shaking harder now. She pressed them flat against her thighs for 3 seconds, eyes closed, fighting for control. The PTSD response was building despite her efforts to suppress it. Too much attention, too much stress, too many memories of weapons and operators and mistakes that cost lives. The armory door opened again. Petty Officer Second Class Maya Lin entered, 24 years old, 5'4", dark hair in a regulation bun, intelligence specialist, newly attached to Team 3. She saw Jordan surrounded by operators and her expression tightened. Commander, the XO is asking for you in the Tactical Operations Center, Lin said. Tell him I'm conducting important training, Carver replied without looking at her. Kirkland's voice cut through the room. Commander Carver, perhaps we should… Master Chief, I don't need a babysitter. Carver's tone carried an edge now, authority challenged and reasserting itself. Moss grabbed Jordan's cleaning cart and shoved it hard. The cart tipped, supplies scattering across the concrete floor in a cascade of bottles, rags, and brushes. Jordan stood motionless for 3 seconds, eyes closed, breathing carefully controlled. Then she knelt and began collecting supplies one piece at a time, methodical, automatic, disconnected. Carver stood over her. You know what I think? I think you're lying about who you are. I'm a contract employee, sir. Jordan's voice was flat now, all emotions stripped away. Combat mode, survive the engagement and extract. My credentials are with base security. We'll see about that. Before we see what happens next, quick question. Have you ever been underestimated because of how you look or where you work? Drop a comment. Now, what Jordan does in the next 8 minutes will leave this entire SEAL team speechless.
45 minutes after the armory incident, Jordan stood at the entrance to the outdoor range complex. The sun hung low over the Pacific, casting long shadows across the berms and target arrays. 60-plus personnel had assembled in a loose semicircle around the firing line. SEALs, instructors, support staff, even a few families who had been on base for the Friday afternoon barbecue. Lieutenant Commander Carver stood at the range master's podium, arms crossed, looking exceptionally pleased with himself. Moss and Hutchins flanked him like lieutenants waiting for orders. The crowd murmured with anticipation, phones already recording. Jordan had been escorted from the armory by 2 junior petty officers who had been uncomfortably polite, uncertain whether they were handling a security threat or just following orders. Her cleaning supplies had been confiscated. She stood in her gray coveralls, hands loose at her sides, eyes focused on the middle distance. "Since our cleaning contractor knows so much about weapons," Carver announced, his voice carrying across the range, "let's see if she can actually shoot." "Sir, I don't think this is appropriate," Jordan said quietly. "That's an order," Carver snapped, "unless you want to explain to base security why you're impersonating military knowledge." Master Chief Kirkland stood at the edge of the crowd, his weathered face unreadable. "Commander, this isn't regulation. Civilians require safety briefing, liability waivers, range qualification." "She said her dad taught her," Carver interrupted. "I'm just verifying her claims. You have a problem with that, Master Chief?" The question hung in the air, a challenge wrapped in rank structure. Kirkland's jaw worked for a moment. Then, "No, sir." The range setup was simple. One M4A1 carbine on the shooting bench, 30-round magazine beside it, standard qualification target at 50 meters, black silhouette on white paper, scoring rings marked in the center mass. 20 rounds, center mass. Let's see if you can hit paper. Jordan approached the bench slowly. She picked up the M4, and her entire demeanor shifted. The movement was professional, instinctive. She dropped the magazine, locked the bolt back, visually and physically inspected the chamber. Clear. She checked the barrel for obstructions, tilting the weapon to catch light down the bore. Clean. She tested the trigger pull weight with her finger outside the trigger guard, feeling for creep and break point. Approximately 5.5 pounds, standard military spec. The crowd's murmuring died down. Several operators exchanged glances. Jordan inserted the magazine with a firm palm strike, released the bolt to chamber around, clicked the safety to fire, and assumed a shooting stance. Isosceles position,
Feet shoulder-width apart, slight forward lean, weight on the balls of her feet. Her support hand gripped high on the magwell, her firing hand positioned with the web of her thumb tight against the backstrap. Elbows slightly bent to absorb recoil. Head upright, both eyes open. Textbook perfect. The stance of someone who had fired tens of thousands of rounds. Moss leaned toward Hutchins and whispered, "Okay, that's weird. She looks like she actually—" Jordan fired. 20 rounds in 11.4 seconds. Controlled pairs, smooth trigger press, consistent sight picture, minimal muzzle rise between shots. The sound cracked across the range in a rhythmic cadence that spoke of muscle memory and thousands of hours of practice. She finished, clicked the safety on, dropped the magazine, locked the bolt back, visually inspected the chamber, and set the rifle down on the bench with the muzzle pointed downrange. Complete silence. Carver forced a laugh. "Okay, so Daddy taught you well. Lucky day." Master Chief Kirkland walked to the target stand and pulled the paper. His face went very still as he examined it. Every single round had hit center mass. The grouping measured 4 inches across, tight enough to cover with a spread hand. At 50 meters after cold bore, that was exceptional shooting. That was operator-level shooting. He carried the target back and held it up for the crowd to see. Someone in the back whispered, "Holy shit." Jordan stood at the bench, hands at her sides, saying nothing. Her face remained expressionless, but her breathing had quickened slightly. The attention was becoming too much. The memories were pressing too close. Carver's smile had frozen on his face. "Fine, let's try something else." He signaled to Moss, who disappeared into the range equipment shed and returned carrying a metal ammo can filled with rifle parts. He dumped them onto the shooting bench in a chaotic pile.
upper receiver, lower receiver, bolt carrier group, charging handle, buffer assembly, stock components. Mixed in were parts from an HK416, deliberately added to create confusion. "Reassemble the M4, Carver said. You've got 2 minutes. Hutchins scattered the parts further, mixing them into a jumbled mess. "Sir, this isn't," Jordan started. 2 minutes, starting now. Jordan stepped to the bench. Her hands hovered over the parts for 3 seconds while her mind categorized and organized. Then she moved. Her hands became a blur. Lower receiver first, trigger assembly already installed. Buffer tube, spring, buffer weight, stock. Upper receiver, identify it from the HK parts by the brass deflector shape. Charging handle inserted from the rear. Bolt carrier group, cam pin aligned, bolt rotated into locked position. Insert BCG into upper receiver, ensure gas key alignment. Mate upper and lower receivers, push pins into place. Functions check, charge the weapon, pull trigger on empty chamber, listen for the click. Her hands hesitated for a fraction of a second when reaching for the forward assist. She had been about to install it on the left side, the configuration used by DevGru for left-handed operators and certain specialized applications. She caught herself, installed it standard right side configuration. 47 seconds. She stepped back from the completed rifle. The crowd stood frozen. Several operators had their mouths open. Captain Rebecca Strand walked through the back of the crowd, 48 years old, 5'7", wearing service khakis with commander insignia. Short dark hair with gray streaks, brown eyes that missed nothing. Petty Officer Lynn had found her in the admin building and told her something was very wrong at the range. Carver's face had gone pale. Anyone can learn that on YouTube. Jordan's voice came out barely above a whisper. "Sir, may I be dismissed?" No, Carver's desperation was showing now. One more test. He grabbed Moss by the shoulder. "Set up the seal qual stress shoot." Moss hesitated. "Commander, that's for—" "Do it." The setup took 3 minutes. Target moved to 100 meters. Fresh magazine, 30 rounds. The test was simple and brutal. 20 burpees to elevate heart rate and induce muscle fatigue, then engage the target. All rounds center mass within 15 seconds. It was the SEAL Team standard stress qualification. "Do it," Carver said to Jordan, "or I'm calling base security for stolen valor." Jordan looked at Master Chief Kirkland. He was watching her with an expression she could not quite read. Finally, he gave a slight nod. Permission, or perhaps recognition. Jordan unzipped her coverall top and pulled it down to her waist, tying the arms around her hips. She wore a simple gray tank top underneath. The gasps from the crowd were immediate. Her physique was undeniable. Defined shoulders, lean muscled arms, visible core definition. Scars crisscrossed her skin. A puckered circle on her right shoulder, gunshot wound. Long surgical scar on her left thigh. Smaller cuts and marks that spoke of years in harm's way. And on her upper back, partially visible above the tank top, dark ink. Names and a date. The tattoo continued down, hidden by fabric, but what showed read Coronado 2019, and beneath it the beginning of a name. Jordan dropped into the first burpee. Her form was flawless, explosive, efficient. 20 repetitions, her breathing controlled throughout. Box breathing between reps. 4 in, hold, 4 out, hold. She finished, grabbed the M4, assumed firing position. Her heart rate was elevated but controlled, muscle fatigue present but managed. She had done this exact drill hundreds of times, in worse conditions with worse stakes. She fired. 11.7 seconds. Every round center mass. SEAL qualification standard
was 15 seconds. She had beaten it by 3.3 seconds. After stress exercise, after emotional trauma, after having her cover blown in the worst possible way. The silence was absolute. Captain Strand's voice cut through. "Master Chief Kirkland, Commander Carver, my office, now." She looked at Jordan. "You too, ma'am." Jordan flinched at the word ma'am, wrong form of address for enlisted personnel, but Captain Strand had said it deliberately, testing a theory. The crowd erupted into frantic whispers as Strand walked away. Moss turned to Hutchins, his face white. "Dude, we're fucked." The base security office occupied a low concrete building with reinforced windows and cipher-locked doors. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed over government-issue furniture and filing cabinets marked with classification warnings. Jordan sat in a plastic chair facing Lieutenant Perry's desk, her coverall top still tied around her waist, arms crossed over her tank top. The scars on her shoulders caught the harsh overhead light. Lieutenant Commander Carver stood against the wall to her left, arms folded, jaw tight. Master Chief Kirkland occupied the corner by the door, positioned where he could see everyone. Captain Strand sat beside Perry's desk, her posture radiating controlled authority. Lieutenant Perry typed at his computer, 35 years old with the rigid bearing of former military police. Contract employee, Jordan Vale. Janitorial services through Titan Contract Services. Background check shows standard Tier 1 clearance, clean record, all documentation in order. Carver pushed off the wall. Then explain how a janitor shoots like a SEAL and assembles weapons like an armorer. Jordan kept her eyes on the floor. My father was military. He trained me. Strand leaned forward. What was your father's name and unit? Jordan hesitated for 3 full seconds. I'd prefer not to. That wasn't a request. Master Chief Stephen Vale, SEAL Team 2, killed in action 2006, Ramadi, Iraq. Kirkland's head snapped up like he had been slapped. Steve Vale was your father? Jordan met his eyes for the first time. Yes, Master Chief. I knew Steve. Good man. Solid operator. Kirkland's voice had softened. But he died when you were, what, 16? 17. Carver stepped forward. So Daddy taught you some tricks before he got himself killed. Doesn't explain. Commander. Kirkland's voice dropped to a dangerous quiet. Finish that sentence carefully. Perry held up a hand. Commander, Captain, I'm seeing something odd in her file. There are flags. Not on the background check itself, but there are redacted sections. Multiple gaps in her employment history. And there's a notation here that says portions of her background are restricted per USSOC directive. United States Special Operations Command, the umbrella organization over all Special Operations Forces. Carver laughed without humor. That's impossible. She's a janitor. Strand turned to Jordan. Ms. Vale, do you have any military service history? Jordan's hands had started shaking again. She pressed them against her thighs. I'm not at liberty to discuss my employment history without proper clearance, ma'am. That phrase, not at liberty to discuss, the specific terminology used for classified backgrounds, for operators whose service fell under non-disclosure agreements and security protocols. Kirkland stood straighter. Captain, I recommend we contact Naval Special Warfare Command directly. Agreed. Strand nodded to Perry. Get NSWC on secure line, now. While Perry worked his phone, the room fell into tense silence. Jordan focused on her breathing, fighting the panic response building in her chest. 4 counts in. This was exposure, the thing she had spent 18 months carefully avoiding. Hold 4. All the control she had built was crumbling. 4 counts out. The walls were too close, the attention too focused. Hold 4. Captain, Perry said, phone to his ear. NSWC Personnel Command is on the line. They're asking for biometric verification before they'll release any information. Strand frowned. Of whom? The subject of our inquiry. They won't confirm or deny anything without fingerprint or retinal scan. That was highly unusual. Standard background checks were processed with name and social security number. Biometric requirements indicated something else entirely. Compartmented information, protected personnel. Strand studied Jordan for a long moment. I need you to provide a fingerprint scan. Jordan's hands were shaking visibly now. Captain, I respectfully request to contact my former command before. Your former command? Strand's voice sharpened. So you were military. Jordan closed her eyes, shoulders sagging in defeat. Yes, ma'am. What branch? What military occupational specialty? The room held its breath. Navy, Jordan said quietly. Special warfare operator. 4 seconds of absolute silence. Then Carver laughed, a harsh bark of disbelief. You're claiming to be a SEAL? Women aren't. Commander, Kirkland interrupted, his voice hard as concrete. Where the hell have you been? Carver's face flushed. Fine, but she's not. Look at her. She's what, Commander? Strand's tone could have etched steel. Finish that thought.
Carver's mouth opened and closed. Fingerprint, Strand said. Jordan stood on legs that felt unsteady and crossed to Perry's desk. She placed her thumb on the biometric scanner, watching the green light sweep across her skin. The device beeped. Perry's computer screen filled with text. His face went pale. "Captain, you need to see this." Strand moved to the computer, her expression, and shifted from professional interest to shock to something like awe in the space of 5 seconds. "Oh my God. Captain?" Kirkland crossed the room. "Master Chief, come here." Kirkland looked at the screen. He stood at attention reflexively, the automatic response drilled into 30 years of service. Carver's voice cracked. "What? What does it say?" Strand read aloud, her voice careful and deliberate. "Vale, Jordan M., Master Chief, Special Warfare Operator, pay grade E9, Naval Special Warfare Development Group, Gold Squadron, Senior Close Quarters Battle Instructor, Advanced Marksmanship Program, Combat Deployments, 7 theaters, Silver Star, 2 Bronze Stars with Valor Device, Purple Heart with 2 oak leaf clusters." "That's not possible," Carver whispered. Strand continued reading. "Medically retired 18 months ago following," her voice faltered, "following killed in action loss of entire 8-person training cadre during classified operation, Yemen." Kirkland's voice came out rough. "Jesus Christ." Perry scrolled down. "There's a flag here, Captain. All inquiries regarding Master Chief Vale must be immediately reported to NSWC Command. There's a direct notification protocol." Jordan had backed against the wall, arms wrapped around herself, breathing hard. The panic attack was building despite her efforts to control it. Too much exposure, too many memories. The armory had been bad, the range had been worse, but this, having her service laid bare, her failure enumerated in official documentation, was unbearable. Strand approached her carefully. "You trained SEALs?" "Yes, ma'am." Jordan's voice was barely audible. "How many?" I can't remember exactly." Kirkland's voice gentled. "Ballpark, Master Chief." Jordan flinched at the rank. She had not been called that in 18 months. Over 6 years as senior instructor, approximately 300 operators, maybe more. The door burst open. Moss and Hutchins had been summoned. They stood in the doorway, taking in the scene. Jordan against the wall, obviously distressed. Strand and Kirkland at attention. Carver looking like he might be sick. Moss's voice was small. "Oh fuck, we're fucked." Perry was still reading the screen. "Captain, there's more. The Yemen operation. She was the only survivor. 8 operators killed in the first 2 minutes of an ambush. She held defensive position for 4 hours until extraction, despite sustaining 2 gunshot wounds. She refused medical evacuation until all remains were secured." "That's enough, Lieutenant," Strand said sharply. But it was not enough. It was too much. Jordan's breathing had gone ragged, hyperventilation setting in. Her vision was tunneling. The walls pressed in. She could smell cordite and blood, could hear the radio chatter, could feel the weight of bodies she had dragged to cover. "I need air," she gasped. "Permission to—" She pushed past Moss and Hutchins, stumbling through the door into the California evening. "Hold on, stop scrolling. What you're about to witness is why assumptions are dangerous and respect should be universal. Subscribe if you believe everyone deserves dignity, regardless of their job title." Jordan made it 15 feet from the security building before her legs gave out. She collapsed onto a concrete barrier separating the parking area from a maintenance yard, head in her hands, chest heaving with irregular breaths. The panic attack had her now, full force. Her heart hammered at 140 beats per minute. Her vision narrowed to a tunnel. Her hands tingled with hyperventilation. Master Chief Kirkland emerged from the building 30 seconds behind her. He approached slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. "Master Chief, I need you to breathe with me, box breathing, 4 counts." Jordan tried, could not. Her breath came in ragged gasps. 4 in, Kirkland said calmly, his voice steady as granite. "Hold 4. 4 out. Hold 4. Come on, stay with me." Hospital Corpsman 3rd Class Devin Wright appeared from the adjacent parking lot where he had been loading medical supplies into a vehicle. 22 years old, 5'11", athletic build, He had been in the crowd at the range and had followed when he saw Jordan leave. He took one look at her condition and ran. "Master Chief Kirkland," he called, jogging up. "I saw her leave. Is she— Get me water and a cold compress. Now." Wright sprinted to the medical building across the compound, returned in 45 seconds with a cold pack and bottled water. Kirkland cracked the cold pack to activate it and applied it to the back of Jordan's neck. Vagal nerve stimulation, a technique to trigger the parasympathetic nervous system and reduce panic response. The cold shocked her system, interrupting the feedback loop. Jordan's breathing began to slow, still irregular, but no longer hyperventilating. "That's it," Kirkland said quietly. "Stay with me. You're safe, you're stateside, you're in California." Jordan's hands were shaking so hard she could not hold the water bottle Wright offered. The corpsman opened it and held it steady while she drank. "I'm sorry," Jordan whispered, her voice wrecked. I didn't mean to." "You have nothing to apologize for, Master Chief." "Don't call me that." Jordan's voice cracked. I don't deserve." Kirkland crouched in front of her, forcing her to meet his eyes. "The hell you don't. Steve would be proud of you." Jordan looked up, tears cutting tracks through the dust on her face. "You really knew him?" "Ramadi, 2006. I was Forced Recon, attached to SEAL Team 2 for urban operations. Your father saved my life. Took rounds meant for me when we got hit in the Malab district." Jordan started crying in earnest now.
The first real emotion she had shown. 18 months of suppression breaking through in racking sobs. "He talked about you constantly," Kirkland continued. "His daughter who wanted to be just like him, smart as hell, tough as nails. He said you were going to be better than he ever was." "He didn't want this for me," Jordan managed between sobs. "He wanted me safe. He made me promise I'd go to college and a normal life." "You became exactly what he was, a warrior. That's not something to hide." Wright knelt beside them, his medic training kicking in. "Master Chief Vale, I saw your record in the system. Yemen. I'm sorry about your team." "I should have seen the ambush," Jordan said, her voice hollow. "I was point. I should have seen the signs. I should have—" "Stop." Kirkland's command voice cut through her spiral. "You survived 4 hours alone against 50 hostiles. You brought your team home." "I brought bodies home. That's not the same." "You gave them honor. You gave their families closure. That matters." Petty Officer Lin approached cautiously from the security building. "Master Chief, Captain Strand is asking for you, when you're ready." Jordan wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, smearing tears and dust. "Give me 2 minutes." Lin nodded and retreated. Wright offered Jordan a clean cloth from his medical bag. She took it, cleaned her face as best she could. Her hands still trembled, but the worst of the panic had passed. She was functional again, even if barely. Inside Captain Strand's office, the atmosphere was ice. Carver, Hutchins, and Moss stood at rigid attention in front of Strand's desk. The captain sat behind it, arms folded, her expression colder than Jordan had ever seen on a flag officer. "Explain to me," Strand said, each word precise and sharp, "how 3 SEAL operators harassed a Master Chief for over an hour without realizing who she was." "Ma'am, there was no way to know," Carver started. "She field-stripped weapons blindfolded. She shot better than your entire platoon. She used terminology that only operators know. She moved like someone with a decade of combat experience." Strand's voice rose slightly. "What exactly did you think you were looking at?" Hutchins tried. "Captain, in our defense, her file said—" "There is no defense, Lieutenant. Master Chief Vale has more combat experience than the 3 of you combined, more decorations, more time downrange. And you treated her like garbage because she was holding a mop." Moss, to his credit, simply said, "We messed up, ma'am." "Yes, you did. Spectacularly." The desk phone rang. Strand picked it up. "Captain Strand?" "Yes, Admiral." "Yes, sir. She's here on base." "I understand. 45 minutes. Yes, sir. I'll have everyone present." She hung up and looked at the 3 men with something approaching contempt. That was Rear Admiral Thomas Greer from Naval Special Warfare Command. He's flying in from Dam Neck, Virginia.
ETA 45 minutes. He wants everyone involved in this incident present for formal inquiry. Carver's face went gray. The Deputy Commander of Naval Special Warfare is coming here? Apparently, Master Chief Vale is not just any retiree. Admiral Greer personally approved her medical retirement. He's been monitoring her recovery. And you three just triggered every alarm in the special operations community. Moss whispered to Hutchins, "We are so incredibly fucked. Master Chief Kirkland is bringing Master Chief Vale back in. When she enters this office, you will stand at attention. You will address her by proper rank, and you will show the respect you should have shown from the beginning. Clear?" "Yes, ma'am," all three responded. The door opened. Jordan entered, Kirkland behind her. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but she was composed, back in control. The coverall top was back on, zipped up, hiding the scars and tattoos. All three men snapped to attention. Jordan's gaze swept over them without expression. Strand's voice softened fractionally. "Master Chief Vale, Rear Admiral Greer is en route. He's requested to speak with you personally about this incident." "Ma'am, that's not necessary," Jordan said quietly. "I don't want to cause trouble for—" "You didn't cause anything. These men did." Jordan looked at Carver, who could not meet her eyes. "Captain, I'd like to request that no formal charges be filed. They didn't know who I was." "That's not your decision, Master Chief. With respect, ma'am, I took this job to disappear, not to be reminded of everything I've been trying to forget. I don't want this to become a spectacle." Kirkland stepped forward. "Captain, Master Chief Vale has severe PTSD from the Yemen incident. This situation has triggered symptoms she's been managing. Admiral Greer should be informed of her current medical status." Strand's expression softened slightly. "Master Chief, I understand you want privacy, but what happened today was recorded by 40 people. It's already on social media, multiple platforms. The story is out." Jordan closed her eyes. "I know." Carver finally found his voice. "Master Chief, I apologize. There's no excuse for how I treated you. You didn't know. I should have respected you regardless of who I thought you were." It was the first genuinely insightful thing he had said all day. Hutchins added, "Master Chief, I'm sorry. What I said was unforgivable." Moss just said, "I'm an idiot, Master Chief. I'm really sorry." Jordan's voice was flat. Apologies noted. She would not give them forgiveness. Not yet, maybe not ever. Strand stood. "Master Chief Vale, until Admiral Greer arrives, you're dismissed to the medical building for evaluation. Corpsman Wright will escort you." Wright appeared in the doorway.
"Ready, Master Chief." Jordan left without another word. After the door closed, Strand turned on the three men. "Admiral Greer will determine your fate. Until then, you're confined to base. Dismissed." The Naval Special Warfare Conference Room occupied the second floor of the command building, a space designed for classified briefings and high-level planning. 20 chairs surrounded a long oak table scarred by years of coffee cups and classified documents. Security cameras watched from corners. A digital clock on the wall read 1900 hours exactly. Jordan sat on the right side of the table, wearing borrowed Navy working utilities that fit poorly. Her own clothes had been taken for the investigation file. Master Chief Kirkland sat beside her, a steady presence. Across the table, Carver, Hutchins, and Moss occupied chairs in their dress uniforms, looking like defendants awaiting sentencing. Captain Strand sat near the head of the table. Lieutenant Perry stood by the door with a digital recorder. Petty Officer Lynn sat in the back corner, taking notes. Several other SEAL Team 3 members filled remaining seats, witnesses to various parts of the incident. The door opened and everyone stood. Rear Admiral Thomas Greer entered wearing service dress blues. The uniform bore across his left chest a mosaic of ribbons representing 30 years of classified operations. 54 years old, 6'2", with salt and pepper hair and command presence that filled the room like a physical force. His eyes, sharp and assessing, swept across every face before settling on Jordan. "Seats," he said. Everyone sat, except Jordan. She remained standing, hands clasped behind her back, eyes forward. Greer noticed. "Master Chief Vale, you're not on trial here. Sit down."
With respect, Admiral, I'd prefer to stand. Greer studied her for 3 seconds. Are you having trouble sitting, Master Chief? Jordan hesitated. Sir? Your left leg, you're favoring it. That's where you took the round in Yemen, correct? The femoral graze that required vascular repair? Jordan's voice dropped to barely audible. Yes, sir. Standing is easier for extended periods. Sit anyway. That's an order. Jordan sat, wincing slightly as she bent the leg. Greer opened a folder thick with documentation. I've reviewed incident reports, security footage, social media posts, and spoken with Master Chief Kirkland. Before we discuss consequences, I want the record to reflect exactly who Master Chief Jordan Vale is. He looked directly at her. Master Chief, for the benefit of everyone here who doesn't have clearance for your full record, tell them. Jordan's hands clenched on the table. Sir, I don't think that's an order, Master Chief. Jordan took a breath. Jordan M. Vale, Master Chief Special Warfare Operator, Pay Grade E9, Naval Special Warfare Development Group, Gold Squadron, 16 years of service. Your specialties? Close quarters battle, advanced marksmanship, SIR instruction, foreign weapon systems. Combat deployments? 7, sir. Iraq 3 rotations, Afghanistan twice, Syria, Yemen. Decorations? Jordan's voice flattened, reciting from memory. Silver Star, 2 Bronze Stars with Valor Device, Purple Heart with 2 Oak Leaf Clusters, Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal with Valor Device, Combat Action Ribbon. The Silver Star, Greer interrupted. Explain the citation. Sir, I'd prefer not to. Explain it. Jordan closed her eyes. Helmand Province, Afghanistan, 2019. My training cadre was conducting an instructional patrol with Afghan National Army forces. We were ambushed. 8 operators killed in the first 90 seconds. I maintained defensive position for 4 hours against approximately 50 Taliban fighters while calling for exfiltration and securing remains. The room was completely silent. You were wounded twice during that engagement, Greer said. Yes, sir. Left thigh, right shoulder. And you still held position? I couldn't leave them, sir. They were my responsibility, sir. Greer closed the folder. Master Chief Vale was medically retired 18 months ago. Not because her physical wounds didn't heal, they did, but because of severe post-traumatic stress and survivor's guilt. I personally approved her retirement because she had given everything she had to this command. He turned to Carver. Commander Carver, do you understand who you humiliated today? Carver's voice shook. Yes, sir. Do you? Master Chief Vale has trained over 300 SEAL operators. She wrote half the curriculum your team uses for close quarters battle. She's forgotten more about special warfare than you've learned in your entire career. Yes, sir. Greer looked at Hutchins and Moss. Lieutenant, petty officer, same question. Both responded, yes, sir. Greer turned back to Jordan. Master Chief, what do you want done here? Sir, I don't want them punished. They didn't know who I was. That's not an excuse. No, sir, but I took this job specifically to not be recognized. I wanted to be invisible. In a way, it's my fault for... Master Chief, stop. Greer's voice hardened. You have nothing to apologize for. Nothing. Jordan's voice broke. Sir, with respect, I do. I lost my entire team. I failed them. I don't deserve the respect these men are showing me now. That was the survivor's guilt speaking, the poison that had been eating at her for 3 years. Kirkland spoke up. Admiral, with permission to address Master Chief Vale? Go ahead. Kirkland turned to Jordan. You didn't fail anyone. You survived an impossible situation, against impossible odds. Your team would be proud of you. Steve would be proud of you. Jordan's eyes filled with tears.
They'd be alive if I had seen the ambush, if I had chosen a different route, if you had what? Kirkland's voice was firm but compassionate. Predicted the future? You were ambushed by a superior force with pre-positioned weapons. It wasn't your fault. Greer nodded. Master Chief Kirkland is correct, and I won't have you diminishing your service because of survivor's guilt that should have been addressed in therapy. He stood. Here's what's going to happen. Commander Carver, you're being reassigned to Naval Special Warfare Group 2, Little Creek, Virginia, pending a full leadership review. Lieutenant Hutchins, you're being removed from your platoon and assigned to administrative duties. Petty Officer Moss, you're being sent to remedial training on military bearing, customs, and courtesies. All three said, "Yes, sir." Master Chief Vale, you have a choice. Grier's voice softened slightly. You can return to contract work with assurances that your identity will be protected going forward, or, Jordan looked up, or, sir? Naval Special Warfare needs experienced instructors. We've lost institutional knowledge as operators retire or move to contracting. Your medical retirement was honorable and stands, but if you're willing, we'd like to offer you a GS-13 civilian instructor position. No deployments, no combat operations, just training the next generation. Jordan stared at him, speechless. You'd be teaching CQB and marksmanship to basic underwater demolition/SEAL candidates and newly assigned team members, Grier continued, sharing what you know, keeping your brother's legacy alive, keeping Steve's legacy alive. Sir, I don't know if I can face that every day, if I can talk about tactics and operations without— You don't have to decide now. Think about it. Grier looked around the room. Master Chief Vale's identity is now known, but her medical records and the classified details of her retirement remain protected. Anyone who discusses her PTSD or the specifics of the Yemen operation outside official channels will face court-martial. Is that clear? A chorus of "Yes, sir" filled the room. Grier turned back to Jordan. You're dismissed, Master Chief. Get some rest. Report to my office Monday morning with your decision. Jordan stood and rendered a proper salute, the first military courtesy she had shown in 18 months. Grier returned it, then did something unexpected. He extended his hand across the table. Your father would be proud of you. I knew Steve. He was a good man and a hell of an operator. Jordan shook his hand, unable to speak. Dismissed. Jordan walked out, Kirkland following. After the door closed, Grier addressed the room. Let this be a lesson to every person here. Respect isn't about rank or position. It's about recognizing the humanity in everyone you encounter, because you never know who you're really talking to. Saturday morning arrived cold and gray, the marine layer hanging thick over Coronado. At 0800 hours, Lieutenant Commander Brett Carver stood in his office at the SEAL Team 3 compound, packing the last of his personal effects into cardboard boxes. Plaques and photographs came off the walls, leaving rectangular shadows on the paint. 16 years of service reduced to 3 boxes and a duffel bag. Hutchins and Moss helped in silence, both still assigned to the base pending final disposition of their cases. The atmosphere felt like a funeral. 16 years, Carver said to no one in particular. Gone because I couldn't keep my mouth shut for 5 minutes. Hutchins taped a box closed. We all couldn't keep our mouth shut. Moss pulled a book from the shelf and paused, staring at the cover. I can't believe she's Master Chief Vale. I literally read about her in advanced training. The Helmand Lion story. The SEAL who held off an entire Taliban company alone for 4 hours? That's her. Carver sat heavily in his desk chair. I humiliated a legend in front of 40 people, on camera. She asked the Admiral not to punish us, Hutchins said quietly. Which makes it worse. Carver's voice was hollow. She showed us more grace than we showed her, more than we deserved. The door opened and Master Chief Kirkland entered, carrying a manila envelope. Commander, your transfer orders. You ship to Little Creek Monday morning, 0600. Carver stood. Yes, Master Chief. Before you go, Master Chief Vale is outside. She wants to speak with you. All 3 men went rigid. I don't think I can face her again, Carver said. That wasn't a request, Commander. All 3 of you. Outside. Now. They found Jordan waiting in the parking lot, wearing jeans and a navy hoodie, civilian clothes that made her look smaller, younger, more human. The morning fog softened the harsh lines of the base infrastructure around them. Carver, Hutchins, and Moss approached like men walking to their execution. I wanted to talk before you left, Jordan said without preamble. Master Chief, Carver began. I'm not here for more apologies. You already gave those. Silence hung between them.
broken only by distant sounds of morning physical training. Jordan continued, "I'm here to tell you that you're not bad leaders. You made a mistake, a significant one, but everyone makes mistakes." Hutchins spoke carefully. "Master Chief, we destroyed your cover. We humiliated you publicly. Yes, you did, and I'm angry about that. I'm probably going to be angry for a while." Jordan's voice was level, honest. "But I've been where you are, thinking one mistake defines your entire career. It doesn't. How you respond to this mistake, that's what matters." Moss asked, "How do we respond? We're being punished. Our careers are damaged."
You take the punishment, you learn from it, and you never treat anyone that way again, regardless of their rank or position. Jordan looked directly at Carver. "You're a good operator, Commander. I checked your record last night. Strong tactical mind, good under pressure, solid combat performance. But leadership isn't about dominance. It's about recognizing value in everyone around you." Carver met her eyes. "I should have recognized your value. You should have recognized my humanity. There's a difference." The distinction landed with weight. "I'm telling you this because someone told me the same thing when I made a mistake that cost lives," Jordan said. "And I need to believe people can learn and grow. Otherwise, what's the point of any of this?" Hutchins asked quietly, "Who told you that?" "My Master Chief. After Helmand. I wanted to quit, wanted to eat my gun, honestly. He wouldn't let me. He made me believe I could still contribute something." Moss ventured, "Master Chief, the Admiral offered you a job. Are you going to take it?" Jordan was quiet for a moment. "I don't know yet. Teaching means reliving everything I'm trying to forget. Every technique I demonstrate, every scenario I run, it all connects back to people who aren't here anymore." Carver said, "But it also means making sure the next generation doesn't make the mistakes we made, doesn't end up in situations where people die because they weren't properly trained." Jordan looked at him with something almost like approval. "Maybe you did learn something, Commander." She extended her hand. "Good luck at Little Creek." Carver shook it, his grip firm but not challenging. "Thank you, Master Chief, for this conversation, for your grace, for everything." Jordan shook hands with Hutchins and Moss as well, then walked back to her car without looking back. After she drove away, Moss said, "She just gave us more respect than we deserve." Kirkland, who had been observing from the compound entrance, walked over. "That's what real leaders do. They lift people up, even people who've wronged them." Saturday afternoon found Jordan in the base exchange, pushing a shopping cart through fluorescent-lit aisles, trying to reclaim some sense of normalcy. She needed groceries, cleaning supplies, ordinary things that had nothing to do with the chaos of the previous day. Personnel recognized her now. SEALs nodded respectfully as they passed, support staff smiled. A young sailor stopped her near the produce section. "Master Chief Fail?" The woman was maybe 19, petty officer third-class insignia on her working uniform, nervous energy radiating from her. "Yes?" "I'm Seaman Collins. I just wanted to say thank you for being who you are. I want to be a SEAL someday. Seeing that you made it through, that you succeeded, it gives me hope." Jordan's expression softened. "It's a hard road, harder than you can imagine. The training alone breaks most people." "I know, but if you can do it, maybe I can too." "Maybe you can." Jordan paused, choosing her words carefully. "Do you know what the hardest part is?" Colin shook her head. "It's not the physical training. It's believing you deserve to be there when everyone around you doubts you, including yourself sometimes. Don't let anyone, including yourself, make you smaller than you are." "Yes, Master Chief. Thank you." After Collins left, an older SEAL approached, maybe 45, with the relaxed bearing and full beard of someone who had earned the right to ignore certain grooming standards. "Master Chief Vale, Senior Chief Patterson, Team 7. I was in your CQB course back in 2018. Jordan studied him. "I remember. You nearly broke your ankle on the tire obstacle during the stress course." Patterson laughed. "Yeah, you made me finish the course anyway, on a swollen ankle. I thought you were the hardest instructor I'd ever had." Because quitting wasn't an option. "I just wanted to say, what you taught me saved my life in Mosul. House clearing operation went sideways, enemy combatants in every room.
The muscle memory you drilled into us, the way you made us practice until we didn't think, we just reacted correctly, that's why I'm standing here." Jordan's voice was quiet. "I'm glad it helped. The community is better because of you. Don't let anyone, including yourself, make you forget that." He nodded and walked away. Jordan stood alone in the grocery aisle, fighting tears she refused to let fall in public. Sunday morning at 1000 hours, Jordan sat in the back pew of the base chapel, a small non-denominational space that smelled of furniture polish and old hymnals. She was not religious, had not been since her father's funeral, but the chapel was quiet, empty, a place where she could think without eyes watching. Master Chief Kirkland entered and sat beside her without asking permission. "Didn't take you for the religious type," he said. "I'm not, but it's quiet here." They sat in comfortable silence for a full minute. "I've been thinking about the Admiral's offer," Jordan said finally. "And? I'm scared. Teaching means facing what happened every single day, talking about tactics and room clearing and weapons handling, all the things that got my team killed. Your tactics didn't get them killed. Bad intelligence and worse luck did. Maybe. What does your gut tell you?" Jordan was quiet. "That I owe it to them, to pass on what they taught me, to make sure their knowledge doesn't die with them. Then you know what you need to do. It's not that simple. I'm afraid of failing again, afraid I'll train someone and they'll die because I didn't prepare them well enough." Kirkland turned to face her. "I'm not saying this to be cruel, but you're afraid of living again. After Adia, after your father died saving my life, I couldn't lead for 6 months. Every decision felt like it would get people killed. I was paralyzed. What changed? I realized not leading, not passing on what Steve and I learned together, that was the real failure. Your team didn't die so you could hide and clean floors. They died doing what they loved with people they trusted. Honor that by making sure the next generation is better prepared than they were." Jordan sat with that for a long moment. Then, quietly, "I'll take the job." "Good, but I need help. I can't do this alone. The PTSD, the anxiety, all of it. You're not alone. You never were. We'll get you proper support. Therapy, medication management, whatever you need." "Okay." They sat together in the quiet chapel while morning light filtered through plain glass windows, and for the first time in 18 months, Jordan felt something like hope. 3 months passed like water through cupped hands. Jordan arrived at the Naval Special Warfare Training Center at 0600 on a Monday morning, carrying a rifle case and instructor materials in a weathered backpack. She wore the civilian instructor uniform, khaki tactical pants, navy blue polo shirt with the NSW trident embroidered over the heart, and boots that had seen a decade of hard use. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a regulation bun. The scars on her arms were visible now, no longer hidden. Master Chief Kirkland waited at the entrance to the close quarters battle facility, coffee in hand, looking exactly as he had 3 months earlier, except perhaps slightly less concerned. "Ready for day 1?" he asked. Jordan adjusted the rifle case strap on her shoulder. "As ready as I'll ever be. You've got 30 students today, mix of recently graduated BUDS candidates and team guys rotating through for refresher training. Ages range from 22 to 34. Who's the senior man in the class?" Kirkland smiled. "You are. I'm civilian now. I'm not Master Chief. You outrank everyone in that room by experience, by time in service, and by what you've survived. Act like it." They entered the facility together. The training space was massive, a converted warehouse with modular walls that could be reconfigured into various room-clearing scenarios. Tactical equipment lined the walls, weapon racks held training rifles. The smell of gun oil and rubber flooring filled the air. 30 students waited in folding chairs arranged in a semicircle. Most were male, but 2 were female SEAL candidates, part of the slowly growing integration. All wore matching PT gear. Several recognized Jordan immediately and snapped to attention. Others looked confused. One baby-faced SEAL, maybe 22 years old, whispered to his neighbor, "Wait, is that?" An experienced operator in his 30s cut him off. "Shut up and stand at attention." Jordan walked to the front of the room. Seats. Everyone sat, the scrape of metal chairs loud in the concrete space. "I'm Jordan Vale, Master Chief retired. I'll be your CQB instructor for the next 6 weeks. Some of you know my background, some of you don't. It doesn't matter. What matters is that what you learn here will keep you alive when everything goes wrong downrange. She clicked a remote. The projector screen showed a detailed training schedule. 16-hour days, 6 days a week, progressive skill building from basic room clearing to complex compound assaults. This course covers room clearing, hostage rescue, vehicle interdiction, high-risk warrant service, and multi-floor compound assaults. You'll learn to shoot, move, and communicate under stress. You'll learn to make life-or-death decisions in fractions of a second with incomplete information. A muscular operator, maybe 26 with cocky energy, spoke up. "Master Chief, I've done 3 combat deployments. I know CQB." Jordan looked at him steadily. "What's your name?" "Petty Officer Drake, Master Chief." "Drake, you know some CQB. I'm going to teach you to master it." There's a difference between knowing how to clear a room and being so proficient that your body executes perfectly while your mind is processing 3 steps ahead. "Yes, Master Chief. I'm not here to make you comfortable. I'm here to make you competent, because incompetence gets people killed." Her voice caught slightly on the word killed, but she pushed through. It gets you killed. It gets your teammates killed. It gets hostages killed. There's no room for error in this work. She pulled up a photograph on the screen. 8 operators in desert camouflage, standing in front of a mud brick compound, all smiling despite the harsh Afghanistan sun. Young, confident, alive. These were my instructors, my teammates, my family. They taught me everything I'm going to teach you. They died in Helmand Province 3 years ago because bad intelligence put us in an impossible tactical situation. The room went completely silent. I survived because of what they taught me, because they drilled skills into me until they became instinct. You'll survive your deployments because of what I'm teaching you. That's the legacy. That's the mission. That's why I'm standing here, instead of hiding from all of this. She turned off the screen. "Questions before we start?" One of the female SEAL candidates, 24 years old, with the lean build of someone who had survived Hell Week, raised her hand. "Master Chief, how do we know when we're really ready, when we've trained enough?" Jordan considered the question. "You're never fully ready. Combat is chaos, but you train until your skills become instinct, until you don't think, you just react correctly, until the fundamentals are so ingrained that even when you're terrified and
Unaused and everything is falling apart, your body knows what to do." The candidate asked quietly, "Were you scared? In Helmand?" Jordan paused, then answered with complete honesty. "Terrified. But fear doesn't disqualify you from this work. Letting fear control your actions does. You acknowledge the fear, then you execute anyway." Another student asked, "How did you hold position for 4 hours alone?" "I wasn't alone. I had my training, my team's memory, and a mission. That was enough. It had to be enough." She checked her watch. "Enough talk. Gear up. We're running basic room clearing drills until you can execute them blindfolded with correct footwork, muzzle discipline, and communication." The student stood and moved to the gear-up area where plate carriers, helmets, and training weapons waited. Drake approached Jordan. "Master Chief, I apologize for being cocky earlier." Jordan's expression softened slightly. "Don't apologize to me. Prove you can back it up on the training floor." Drake grinned. "Yes, Master Chief." 6 weeks compressed into a montage of sweat and repetition. Jordan ran drill after drill, her instruction precise and demanding but never cruel. She demonstrated techniques with the fluid grace of someone who had performed them thousands of times. Students struggled, improved, occasionally failed, and learned from failure. She worked one-on-one with the female candidates during breaks, offering mentorship that went beyond tactics. "The hardest battles you'll fight aren't on deployment," she told them. "They're proving you belong to people who don't want you here." There were difficult moments. Twice during the 6 weeks, Jordan experienced brief dissociative episodes, triggered by specific tactical scenarios that too closely mirrored Helmand. She would freeze for 5 or 10 seconds, lost in memory, before Kirkland's voice from the observation catwalk would ground her back to the present. But she pushed through, every single time. The students developed deep respect for her, the kind earned through competence and genuine care for their development. On graduation day, a small ceremony was held in the training center. Admiral Greer attended, along with other Naval Special Warfare Command leadership.
The 30 students stood in formation, looking significantly different than they had 6 weeks earlier. Harder, more confident, better. Jordan stood at the front with Kirkland beside her. This class represents the first trained by Master Chief Vale under our new civilian instructor program, Greer announced. Their performance has exceeded every metric we use to evaluate tactical proficiency. He looked at Jordan. Master Chief, do you have anything to say to your students? Jordan stepped forward. Her voice was steady, certain. You came here as good operators. You're leaving as better ones. But technical skill isn't enough. You need to take care of each other, trust each other completely, because when everything goes wrong, and it will, the only thing that matters is the person next to you. She paused, gathering herself. I lost 8 people because I couldn't save them from an ambush I didn't see coming. Don't let that be your story. Bring everyone home. That's the mission that matters most. Several students visibly fought emotion. Drake stepped forward, carrying a framed photograph. Master Chief, the class wanted to present something. The frame held a photo of all 30 students in formation with Jordan in the center, the only time she had agreed to be photographed. Below the image, an engraved plaque read, Master Chief Jordan Vale, the helmed lion, who taught us to roar. Jordan's eyes filled with tears as she accepted it. Thank you, all of you. After the ceremony, after the handshakes and the gratitude and the promises to stay in touch, Jordan stood alone in the empty training center. The modular walls were configured into a 4-room layout. The scent of gun oil hung in the air. Afternoon light slanted through high windows. Kirkland found her there. How do you feel? Tired, proud, terrified I didn't teach them enough to keep them alive. You taught them what they needed. The rest is up to them and circumstances beyond anyone's control. Jordan looked around the space. 3 months ago, I was mopping floors in this building. Now I'm training the people he'll deploy to the worst places on Earth. It doesn't feel real. It's exactly what you were meant to do, what Steve wanted for you. Jordan walked slowly across the training floor to the exact spot where months ago Carver had kicked over her mop bucket. She stopped there, remembering the humiliation, the anger, the fear of exposure. Then she looked at the photos on the wall, images from the past 6 weeks of her teaching, demonstrating, mentoring. Her phone buzzed. A text from Seaman Collins. Just got accepted to SEAL prep course. Requested you as instructor for integrated training block. Hope that's okay. Jordan smiled and typed back, Be ready. I won't go easy on you. Another text from Senior Chief Patterson. Heard you're teaching now. The guys you're training are lucky. Stay strong, Master Chief. She stood in that spot for another moment, then walked toward the exit where Kirkland waited. In her mind, a voice that sounded like her father said, You did good, kid. And for the first time in 3 years, Jordan believed it might be true. Master Chief Jordan Vale's story reminds us that everyone we meet is fighting battles we know nothing about. Respect costs nothing. Judgment costs everything. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, never underestimate the person right in front of you. You never know who they really are or what they've survived to get here.